Ann, and we're here today with Narendra, who is a spiritual master teacher and the founder of Spirituality for Results. Thank you for watching. I'd like to ask you about the problem of suffering, which is a huge topic. Why is there so much suffering on the earth? And if, you know, the classic question is, if God is good and loving, why do we have suffering? So that's a pretty big one.
Yes, there are many parts to that. I guess we can look at it two different ways. One is individual suffering, and one could be at a society level or what's going on at a global level. You know, some nations seem to be suffering a lot more than the others. Mm-hmm. So with that in mind, let's try to establish when we say what is suffering. Suffering means there's a lot of poverty. Say, for example, poverty would be defined as people who are living on less than $1 per day salary, and they have to raise children. They're living in shanty towns in very terrible conditions with open sewers, with like as much as 8 to 10 people crammed up in one little room, and they'll be living there all their life. There's lack of water. There are wars. But if you go suffering in the more what you call Western countries or what you call developing countries, you may say they seem to have a lot more, but there seems to be no peace of mind. And how do you explain a multimillionaire jumps out from the 20th floor in Wall Street? So it means he had the money, but he had something that was bothering him. And every now and then you see these school children come out and do mass killings all over the schools. And so there is a lot of disparity and also suffering that comes out along with that. Or what's happening in the inner cities of, say, in America or some of the major cities of the world. That they are no more safe because of the crime. Would that be something that your question will cover?
Well, yeah, suffering has many facets. It's part of being human, it appears, and we all wonder, well, why is God letting this happen?
In essence, God does not let this happen. And if you really think about it, and if you really talk to people or read scriptures, and you realize that God created us and He gave us choices. And it's only through error or judgment or lack of sensitivity that it just so happens the times we are going through that more people are making poorer choices as opposed to wiser choices.
So are you saying that we were bringing it upon ourselves because of our choices that we've made?
Yes. I mean, how do you explain that people, some of the people who have so much money that they're buying like $2,000, $3,000 worth of a curtain for his bathroom, whereas people just right next door, they don't have enough to eat. And you see in form of a social disease that a lot of people, for example, people who have got into a position of authority in government, they are stealing people's money, and then they're basically spending it overnight for, let's say, one of their children's marriages, whereas they're right next door. People are eating or picking up food from the garbage cans. Is it because they have become blind? Can they not see? Don't they even have a little bit of qualms to think about it as to what they're doing? So those are some of the things that we have to consider. But at the same time, at individual level, it seems very strange that every other day some strange kind of disease is being created. Like we have never heard some of these diseases before. So you wonder what's going on, right?
Yes. So am I hearing you infer that there's like a collective responsibility as opposed to this individual responsibility, or? We
have both. If you look at an individual person, obviously you cannot blame human beings were first looking out for themselves, because that's how we all are. That first you look out for yourself, then you look out for your family. But then where is the limit? If the people are being driven by so much greed, that 100 million is not enough, then maybe person is now aiming for 500 million or a billion. And the problem starts when they're going to do it at any cost. That's where it starts to become unhealthy. There is always a case for progress. God and spirituality always wants us to succeed, and there's no limit. If you are making money, for example, by fair means, by creating a fair business, it's wonderful, because now you're setting a good example for the society. Look, I could do it. If you look at the story of, say, somebody like Steve Jobs, it was amazing. Very impressive story. And he was an adopted child, and if you listen to one of his speeches, the one he gave to Stanford University, did you know that he was collecting cans so he can buy food? And once a week he used to walk 7 miles so he could get a decent free meal from Hare Krishna temple, because he didn't want to stay and put burden on his hardworking parents. And that's a wonderful story and a great example for the world. Look what he did.
Yes.
Starting from such humble beginnings.
Yes. So when we look at people like him, I know there can be a tendency to go, oh, well, he's special. So, like, how can we personalize that, and how can someone like me bring positive change to the world? Or what can we all do, collectively or individually?
I mean, at the minimum, most people are just looking at stories, whether you're looking at in maybe a YouTube or Yahoo, or reading magazines, and you're watching these stories. But when you really think about it, the suffering of any kind has nothing to do with divinity. It has nothing to do with what's good inside of us. It's all product of darkness.
Okay.
It's all product of darkness. Of course, in different religions, different groups, they call it by different names. But it's the same source. Now, think about it for a second. And there is a lot of decent work going in this field. For example, in this country, there are a lot of foundations who are giving a lot of money to very worthy causes like AIDS and or making water available to different poorer countries of the world, or education funds, etc., etc. Or some cases when things go so bad, say for example, if a country gets hit by a tsunami, United States always is the first one to go out and give out a lot of donations. But what the unfortunate reality is, a lot of times food doesn't end up with the right sources. The government people eat most of it, and poor people are not getting any, or hardly any. So there's something's broken here in the system. And if you look at some of the poorer countries in Africa, for example, so their leaders, they live like kings. They still live like kings. The average person cannot even afford a decent living. So it goes to tell you something, that something has gone haywire here. Because here we are caught up in what I call a television culture. Most of our value systems are coming from television. Sure, different religions, different systems, different spiritual people are trying to inculcate different kind of values. But it seems to have seems that there's always a struggle, and it looks like television, not that it's all bad, and it's not intended, television is not bad per se, but it's just that when people look at these images, and if they are really not well centered within themselves, and if they're a little bit out of balance, they are getting wrong images. That they see, and they can decide, and they do decide, that I'm going to get that kind of car at any cost, because there is a race against his neighbors. So when you say any cause, if the person hasn't had good education and good upbringing, he or she is going to resort to some very questionable means. And that's what's gone wrong. I mean, sure, we keep hearing about all kinds of problems. You have pollution problems, you have corruption problems, you have hunger problems. You have out of every 3 women, 1 woman will be beaten or raped in her lifetime. These are the world statistics. And that's a very sad situation if you look at it. Not in today's environment. You don't expect. But in spite of what we are all doing, and you look at something like Melinda Gates, they're managing billions and billions of dollars, and they are supporting a lot of worthy causes. And there are a whole lot of other foundations doing the similar kind of work. And there are a whole lot of religious people who go out of the way to help out a whole lot of people in different parts of the world. And that's really definitely worth a lot of applause, no question about it. But still, it's not going to the root cause. It's not going to the root cause. Because it's trying to handle the situation after that situation has occurred.
Okay, so you're talking about referencing back to when you're talking about the media influence and how we've stopped thinking, kind of a mass hypnotism of the culture, at least the Western culture.
Yes.
And people trying to do things, but the system's broke, so it's not getting to the grassroots. So what would you say? So you're saying we're not getting to the root cause. Is that a spiritual thing, or a heart thing, or an education thing, or?
I guess we all have to take our piece out of this big dent and try to fix it. And we have to applaud those people who are making some meaningful differences. But come to think about it, if you really think about the root cause of this problem, it has to be shift in consciousness. Unless and otherwise, there is a major shift in the consciousness of the people of this world, the politicians of this world, the leaders of this world, you are not going to see much meaningful shift. Because with the right kind of consciousness, means that now they will be not prone to doing some of these unsavory things that they do. They will definitely be not making choices or very some distasteful decisions, which are very much against their own consciousness. And that's what's going on. So religions and spiritual groups have tried it. But in essence, if you look at it, go to the internet someday and find out how much money all these foundations are really spending in shift of consciousness. And you don't see anything. Because most money is spent after the problem has occurred. It's like if the cars are going and there is no traffic system, there are no lanes, and there's no traffic lights out there, and as a result, a lot of people get into accidents. A lot of people are trying to send the ambulances, send the medications, in trying to fix the bones, fix the cars, but how much energy is going in trying to fix the traffic system in the first place?
So the infrastructure.
Right. So in my opinion, unless a person's, a society's, or a country's, or world's consciousness changes, we will always be making poorer choices. And these diseases at a personal level, social evils at a social level, and an exploitation at an international level or global level will continue to exist. And what is, in my opinion, kind of disappointing that not a lot of energy and time and money is being spent in addressing some serious projects which can shift the consciousness of the world. And that's where the root cause is. if you go to the root of the problem, that's where it is. Because you can look at it this way, and I'm not preaching any religion. Because that is what, if you really pay attention to what any of the masters like Jesus Christ and Buddha or Krishna or any of these major religions have talked about, they have always talked about it. Now, either we are going to talk to each other, well, here are a bunch of rules, try to be a nice person. That's just your external set of mental rules given to you by somebody, and you try to kind of look good when others are watching you. But people's behavior changes when nobody's watching you. But if you look within ourselves, when we go through some major consciousness shift within ourselves, whether somebody is watching or not, we don't make those all poor substandard choices anymore. And that is the magic of shift in consciousness. And unless we address that, they might as well be doing the same thing over and over again. Mr. Gates and Ford Foundation and all these great foundations are doing charitable work. God bless them. But I'd like to know how many are really going after the root cause.
Okay.
Because I've done my own research, I have not seen any work, because at least for the beginning, we have to go shift the consciousness of the leaders of this world, or the people of the world. Because when the consciousness of people shifts, they will be electing the appropriate people to the parliament or to the Congress. And when their consciousness is better, then they will be choosing that quality of a president or prime minister. So that's how the golden age, that's how the Camelot, that's how the heaven on earth is going to come.
So is that, will it come through education? Is that, how
This is part of education.
A major shift like that?
This is part of education. This is part of some funds have to be dedicated. Because unfortunately, the traditional religion is not willing to go beyond the narrow boundaries that is created for itself. And most religions can end up fighting with one with the other. But if you look at the commonality between all religions, the growth in the realm of spirit will itself bring brotherly love for each other. That will itself make us wiser to make wiser choices for us, our families, and our societies. And then we will stop making darker choices. At individual level, it'll automatically be the result that we will not be eating wrong foods, or putting pollutants in the foods, or we will do appropriate exercise, or we will treat our bodies with respect. And we will not carry centuries or at least decades of hurt feelings in our hearts, which really do nothing but create health problems. So there are benefits at the individual level, and benefits at society, and benefits at a global level. But my vision of this one is that all these great foundations should devote some serious amount of money in trying to do great projects so that consciousness of people and the world can be shifted to the higher levels. That would be attacking the problem at the root cause. You will see the alienation will disappear, diseases will become less, people's health will get better, and people will start loving each other.
That's exciting. So with that, do you see that as a radical shift, or do we just need a little adjustment, or in your view?
No, because once you create these projects, and once the money is done, and when you have a serious work, and when you also correlate with the scientific results it produces by testing people before and after, then the scientific and professional community and the leaders will buy into it. And then they should be educated in shifting their consciousnesses. And they should each go out and train at least 10 people or 100 people. And then their consciousness will be shifted. And I'm not saying people should give up their religions. No, it'll help them to go deeper into own religion. It help them become closer to their own spiritual master. Help them understand God better than what they did before. And not only that, bring that godliness and that unconditional love with them and practice right there. And this is how we got to bring the golden age.
Wow. So, yeah, I want to, in another vignette, hear more about, because it sounds like you're talking about a structured way to actually measure or kind of chart one's progress. You kind of alluded to.
Yes, it can be done in a very scientific way,
okay.
using statistics and measuring results before and after.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll have to talk about that in another segment.
Certainly,
Yeah.
certainly.
Thanks for sharing.